And the fears of some countries are being heard at the Madrid meeting on climate change. Some have said this is a fight to the death. Let's get more on that now. We can speak to David Panuelo, President of the Federated States of Micronesia. President, very good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for your time. What effects are you seeing right now of climate change, and how bad do you expect it to get?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on BBC. We're having a very heavy downpour of rain, so don't mind me, I'm a little bit wet here. But our country, Federated States of Micronesia, is the second ranked most heavily forested in the world. So, climate change is a very important issue that we can continue to tackle. And tackling climate change requires a global mobilization greater than occurred in World War II, as far as we're concerned.
A fight to the death, some of your colleagues are calling it. What hope do you have, what realistic hope do you think you have of something from the richer nations that will really make a difference?
Well, this fight is a fight that we are dealing with it on a real basis. It's an existential threat. So we take climate change very seriously. COP25 is the final COP before the defining year of 2020, as you know. And many nations must submit their climate action plans. And among many elements we need to be ironed out is the financing of climate worldwide. And this is what we are asking, because we have a very low, near nil footprint in terms of our footprint. We don't have any. And so that's why we are demanding bigger countries like the United States, China to come on board and be the champions in fighting climate change.
And of course the argument is that the poorest countries, the small countries, the low-lying countries are the least able to cope, and the richer countries who by and large made the emissions in the first place, change the climate, should help with money and with cuts in emissions. But realistically, what chance do you see of the richer countries stepping to the plate here?
Well, my view on it is that we have no choice. We just don't have any choice in terms of climate change, because, as I've said it, every country will be affected. We have 607 islands in the federation of an ocean, close to about 1 million square miles of ocean. And most of our islands are affected because they're low-lying. Populations are affected. We're doing a lot. As far as a country, we're doing so much in terms of putting up the profile of our country's offices that deals with climate change. In our Congress of Micronesia, we've established a new committee that deals with climate change. The Pacific Island countries gathered in Tuvalu recently, a couple of months ago, and we adopted the Kainaki 2 Declaration for Urgent Climate Action now. We took it to the United Nations when Secretary General of the UN, Guterres, called for a climate action summit. And we called on the world to come on board, because we have no choice. I've said it, that places like United States, at the coastal areas of Florida, California, they're as low as some of our low-lying atolls. So it's a global existential threat. And if we don't come on board, the world will be sorry when we know that action, not taking action would be a calamity as far as we are concerned. And so there's no time. The clock is ticking. And as far as we're concerned, reducing emissions 45% by 2030 is a critical one for the global community to take action on. Reducing carbon footprint to zero emissions by the mid-century is a very critical one. We're calling on nations to do their part because we're a global community and the world is very small. I don't know about other countries, but time is ticking, and I think it would be a serious mistake, a mistake that would be more costly than the Second World War because of the extinction of species, threat to food security. Our countries are experiencing climate change in the way of sea level rise. Some of our islands with the food source, inundation of the smaller islands threaten our stability of the food source and therefore our livelihood. So this is a very serious matter that we take it, and I call on the world bigger countries like the United States, China, India, and the rest of the world to come to their senses and be part of the movement that Pacific Island countries are doing. And, we have a strong solidarity, and we're calling on the world to take action now.
Mr. President, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you for having me on BBC, and we wish you all and the rest of the world best efforts in our collective effort to fight climate change immediately and with our greatest efforts. Thank you so much for having me.
And to you, thank you.